Gen Z's votes in the upcoming Canadian federal election and the U.S. presidential election are important, but figuring out who they're voting for is proving a real challenge. Gen Zs are defined as anyone who was born from 1997 to 2012, so the ages of 27 to age of 12. Pollsters are finding it tough to track them down. Their avoidance of picking up the phone and suspicion at clicking on links are two things which makes them a highly elusive voting group. So where are Gen Z? For that, we've reached out to Fast Company's Joe Berkowitz. Welcome to Your Morning, Joe.
Hi, Anne-Marie. Thanks for having me.
So we outlined a couple of the reasons why Gen Z is hard to track, but tell us more about the challenges for pollsters and thereby political parties.
Sure. You know, young people have always been hard to reach for polling, either because they're busy doing whatever it is you do when you're 23, or because they just don't trust institutions. This generation, though, was raised when landlines were disappearing from a lot of houses, and as the conventional wisdom sort of shifted to just never picking up the phone for an unknown caller. So while way fewer people in any generation right now answer the phone, Gen Z pretty much does not answer the phone at all, as you were saying before. Another factor is that fewer young people now seem to be getting their driver's licenses than in earlier generations. And so all these potential first-time voters are not being automatically enrolled in voter files, which is one of the big ways that pollsters have always found demographic information on who to reach out to. And then finally, the recent popularity of same-day registration means that even fewer potential first-time voters have those voter files created as well.
So then where is Gen Z, and how are pollsters getting creative to try and find them where they're at?
So, you know, different pollsters have different strategies. Ipsos, one of the firms I reached out to for this piece, they hold these probability panels where people are randomly selected out of some demographic group, and then they agree to participate in a series of polls over a long period of time. So what Ipsos and some other pollsters do is they recruit Gen Z respondents by asking the people already in these probability panels whether they have any adult children. And if they do, they ask them, they try to recruit them into the mix. And when that works, these young people are just on a panel for a whole series of polls over time. And then there's Morning Consult, which is another company I spoke with, and they say their goal is to meet Gen Z where they are, which tends to be online. So they do the usual kind of outreach, which is over email or with social media ads, or they embed these survey links directly into pop-ups at the end of YouTube videos. But one thing I found super interesting that they do is they will use surveys as incentives in mobile games, where like if you can take this survey and you get extra lives in the game, which I found pretty clever.
That is pretty interesting. Listen, attention span falls into this as well, because they have a shorter attention span, and people who do traditional polling know that those polls can take about half an hour. How have they changed this for this generation of voters?
Yeah, that's one thing they found is that making the surveys shorter, they can get young people to stick around in the survey environment, whether that's online or somehow on the phone. But yeah, they get them to stick around and complete all the answers. So they've gotten it down from in the half-hour range to 7 to 15 minutes more generally, and also, pollsters have found that Gen Z respondents are more likely to fill out a survey on their phones than on their laptops or any other device. So they've been optimizing surveys for display on mobile, and that's another way to get younger respondents to stick around for longer.
Joe, really quickly, I'm curious how this generation breaks down over gender lines. When Taylor Swift endorses VP Kamala Harris, and then former Trump tweets out that he hates Taylor Swift, who is each party targeting, and is there a gender divide here?
Well, one thing they've been finding out is that the gender split has really grown, with young men far likelier to go for Trump than young women, or in America at least. However, since Gen Z now includes 27-year-olds, and it turns out the addition of kids into the mix, like having your own child, that affects how Gen Z votes by gender. It's a complicated factor. Like, are you a man or a woman, and do you have a child or not? Those are separate crosstabs in polling, and it complicates the overall picture. So a lot of the truly interesting data won't emerge until after the election's over and we get these exit surveys and see how if Gen Z men and women are coming out in the split that we're seeing now.
Well, as you may be aware, you have an upcoming presidential election, but we've got an upcoming election happening in 2025 or potentially sooner. So this is an important conversation. Thanks, Joe.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.